Okay, so we're gonna call the meeting to order. We're gonna do roll call. Commissioner Gagnon,
Here.
Commissioner Dennis,
Here.
Commissioner Lee,
Here.
and Commissioner Susie Young here. And so we're gonna do open meeting law. Pursuant to the open meeting law, any persons that may make an audio or video recording of the public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made whether perceived or unperceived by those present and are deemed acknowledged and permissible. Okay, so the first item on our agenda is going to be to discuss the procedure. Oh yes, citizen input. Do we have anybody for citizen input? Okay. So we're going to discuss the procedure with regards to all the objections filed with the city clerk's office pursuant to Mass General Law, Section 55B, Section 7. And the first thing is going to be explanation of the hearing process by corporate counsel, Judge Macy.
All right, just for the record, the Corporation Counsel, Joseph Macy. The first item on the agenda is the explanation of the hearing process. Now, my understanding is that Mr. Dias represents himself. Ms. Dion, is anybody representing you?
No, sir.
All right. Well, has everybody that's interested received a copy of the rules that we're going to use tonight?
Yes, sir. I have a couple of copies available. Sorry.
Could I have one of them, please?
Sure, right here.
Oh, she's got them. I thought you gave them up to
I
him.
have
I'm
them right
sorry.
here.
That's okay.
I made some copies. Did you get one, Michelle?
I'm going to give it to her.
Okay.
What, you want one? Helen wants one. Thank you.
Going.
All right, well, while you're reading them over, they're not that complicated. Let me just explain that essentially what we want to do and what we have to do is give everybody a chance to be heard and make their views known, and then the board will decide either in total or on a signature by signature basis what the result will be of the challenge. Mr. Dias, being the challenger, has the burden of proof to prove that the signatures, and he's styled them variously illegible, are what he says they are, and then it'll be up to the board to decide if he's correct or not. The rules take up 2.5 pages, but let me just ask this. Is there anybody who has any questions about the rules or how we're going to conduct the hearing?
Right. I just have one question.
Name and address for the
Sure. Colin Dias, 560 Ray Street. I just have one question regarding, I'm objecting to over 80 signatures, so during this hearing, will I, how would we follow along, so to show which one I'm objecting to and whatnot?
You'll tell us.
Right, so we'll all be able to, because these aren't really numbered, so I can tell you what page to go on and whatnot.
What you're going to have to do is demonstrate to the board why the facts alleged in your petition and set forth in your memorandum are correct.
Okay.
So, however you choose to do it, as long as it's orderly.
All right, as long as it's orderly, okay.
So you can say, okay, look, let me see what you said. Okay. You could, for example, say, okay, I'm contesting one signature because it contained the wrong address of a registered voter.
Right.
So you can say, okay, here's the document, this is where it says, this is page 2, line 3, it says so-and-so, it's not their address, prove it or not, and then the board...
For an illegible signature, I would just tell them, bring up the petition, show them where it is, and then, all right.
Yeah, I think that's a fair way to do it. I don't want to tell you how to do it, in fact, I can, but the fact is, as long as your presentation is logical, to the point, it's not far-fetched, or, you know, not something somebody told you that somebody else told them, the board will hear it, and the board will make a ruling.
Okay. That was my only question. Thank you.
Okay. All right, there being no questions, I don't see any more, on the process, I suggest we go to the next.
Yes, we have to select a presiding officer. So anybody have a motion on who we can suggest?
Motion is to select public counsel.
And a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
Well, let me ask, it's not what I anticipated, but Ms. Dion, do you have any objection to me serving as the presiding hearing officer?
No, I do not.
As a presiding hearing officer, I will simply be making rulings on procedure, whether something is too far-fetched or too not. I will not be voting, I will not be taking a position on any of the allegations. Mr. Dias, yeah.
Dias.
Yeah, I got you right. Do you have any objection to that procedure?
Respectfully, yes. Would you like me to come down and make the case for that?
Sure.
Right. My objection would be, with all due respect to you, I have plenty of respect for you, corporate counsel. However, in the past, when I previously made public records, you submitted petitions to the state secretary, and which accused me of being politically motivated, or put down my request in a subjective manner. So I don't believe you would be complete. I have a question whether this would be completely unbiased, but that would be my objection to that.
Well, let me tell you, Mr. Dias, what you said, I said to the Secretary of State, I absolutely said, in spades. And I filed at least 2 requests with them to have you stop filing your public records.
I remember they were
requests.
denied, yes.
However, I'm going to tell you 2 things. One, I am more than satisfied after 17 years as a judge that I can be fair and impartial. However, I'm not going to take that chance. My position in all hearings is they should be free, open, above board, and not subject to any question, real or imagined. In your case, I think it's imagined, but the fact is, I'm not going to take that chance. I'm not going to subject the city to any idea that whatever hearing you get will be anything other than fair. So I'm going to recuse myself from being the presiding officer. However, I want you to understand that in doing that, I'm still legally and duty bound to give the board whatever legal
No, I
advice
understand.
they
I understand.
seek. So, with all, you know, when people say with all due respect, they really don't mean that. But the fact is, with all due respect, I'm going to recuse myself. So there will be no question about the fairness or impartiality of this procedure.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Corporation Counsel.
So we have to nominate somebody else.
I'd like to nominate Dennis.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Okay, just to preserve the record, Stein, you don't have any objections to Mr. Dennis, do you?
No, I do not.
No, I do not.
He hasn't said anything bad about you to the Secretary of State or anything?
No, I have no objection.
All right, so the record will reflect that Mr. Dennis has been nominated and approved as the presiding hearing officer, and he will serve in that capacity with my procedural assistance. Okay?
Thank you. Just so you know, this is not what I'm usually sitting on the other side. I'm usually not sitting on this side. So I have read the procedural rules. They're not unfamiliar to me. It is pretty much a trial procedure, well, pretty close to it. I certainly understand courtroom procedures, so I hope this will go smoothly, but I will admit that this would be my first time conducting a hearing, but I'm also confident that if things don't go as well as we like, I'm sure Judge Mason will be free to let me know. So, with that, I presume there's nothing else procedurally that we need to do.
Well, we just need to go to item 3.
Just go to item 3. Objectors are encouraged to submit a supporting legal memorandum to the chair. I think we've already done that.
Received one from Mr. Dias, none from Mr. McKay.
Okay, so we're going to proceed to item 3, hearing of arguments and objections as to matter of law. Are there any?
Hold on for 1 second. Let's just pin down. We did this at the beginning, but it was a little out of order. Neither party has counsel, correct? Correct.
Correct.
Okay. Item 4 talks about scheduling a hearing date on any remaining legal objections and all evidentiary matters. So we're prepared, assuming the parties are tonight, to move to B and C. Here, opening statements and arguments on objections as to matters of law. Now, I discussed this with Ms. Souza this afternoon. If the parties agree, we can, I believe, continue the hearing tonight on any remaining legal objections and all evidentiary matters. However, if either party objects to having the remainder of the hearing tonight, I think the way it's been noticed, you'd be entitled to come back another day. So my suggestion, Mr. Presiding Officer, is we do B and C and then see where we are as far as parties going forward with more the rest of the hearing.
So we want to pursue with just opening statements.
Yeah.
So I believe, which would be you, Mr. Dias, would be entitled to go first.
Good evening, members of the Board of Election Commission, Corporate Counsel, members of the public. I just want to say thank you for scheduling this hearing in due time to hear my concerns regarding Ms. Dion's nomination papers. I just want to point out that this objection was not filed for political purposes. This was only filed because I believe the city deserves an election with the utmost integrity, and the nomination papers I'm objecting contain just the opposite. After acquiring said nomination papers through public record, I'm surprised these nomination papers, along with their signatures, were deemed valid. Over the course of this hearing, we're going to discuss multiple forged signatures with the same handwriting style, signatures which are grossly illegible and fail to rise to the state standards. And lastly, the most blatant, were these nomination papers altered out of the eyes of a notary or out of the eyes of the constituents which were trusted to sign the said papers? At least the ones that weren't forged. And lastly, I believe it would be appropriate if Commissioner Elite would recuse himself from this hearing process or abstain from any deliberation or vote. Commissioner Elite has financially donated to Ms. Dion's political campaign committee and currently has a campaign sign outside his residence. Because of this, I believe a recusal would be the most appropriate to a fair hearing process. And I'm looking forward to this hearing, and I hope to have a fair hearing with every tool to be used by this commission to get down to the truth.
Can I speak for a moment? Number one, I have never and you can ask, I have never donated money, okay? Do I have a sign? I do. But you know what? When I went to the city clerk's office, I raised my hand and I signed an oath. I signed an oath. So I'm gonna call this down the line, fair and square, okay?
Mr. Lee, 8/21/17 is stated on the OCPF website that you donated the amount of $20 to Miss Dion. Do you live at 128 Dunbar Street?
I do.
Yes, you did donate $20 to her campaign.
I-
It's right here. Don't lie.
Excuse me?
All right, whoa, Mr. Dias, you know, you've been very punctilious, correctly, about challenging what you think might be incorrect or could potentially be incorrect.
Right, but
Hold on. According to the rules of any hearing, you can't call people liars and make aspersions.
Could I say dishonest?
Like that.
could I say Mr. Lee is dishonest?
I would caution you not to do that.
Okay, well, evidence otherwise suggests that Mr. Lee made a dishonest statement.
This is an opening statement really about matters of law. Correct matter of law to ask Mr. Lee to recuse himself? He says he won't.
Okay.
Let's move
That was my opening statement.
I believe, according to the rules, Mr. Dias will now be able to present evidence as to
Would Ms. Dion like to make an opening statement?
some of the, whatever, doesn't it sound like?
on. 6C.
Ms. Dan, did you want to make a opening statement?
Yes, please.
Sorry, just 1 second.
It's okay. You're good. I simply would like to say that any registered voter in the city of Fall River absolutely has the right to object and challenge signatures of any candidate during any election. And I harbor no ill feelings, no animosity towards Mr. Dias for simply exercising his right as a registered voter. With that said, I would like to say that, to my knowledge, I know every signature I gathered myself, I have no question, is correct and will be found to be such. And the others, I fully believe, will be the same result as the people I entrusted to get those signatures are people of moral character. Thank you.
Mr. Dias, as was mentioned earlier by corporate counsel, how do you propose to present the signatures so we can determine which signature,
Correct.
what the specific objection is, and in fact, so we can see them.
Okay, I'm actually going to drop the one signature regarding a false address. Further research has proven that address to be true. So there are two avenues which I am objecting to. One is an illegible signature and/or an address, which through the state standards as provided in CMR 5503. I don't believe that many of these to be legible, and the last, which is 17 of them, I'm objecting to possibly 4 signatures which contain the exact same handwriting style, and which further evidence will show that these were signed by someone other than the person who is alleged to have signed.
If I may, Mr. Chairman. So you're moving to have the complete hearing tonight, correct?
No. I wish to hold a hearing on the 4 signatures, which are 17 of them, to another date, and I wish to have a hearing tonight in regards to the illegible signatures.
Well, I don't know if that's a matter of law or evidence, but I think unless you have an objection, it's really up to the board.
I am good with going forward with everything this evening.
But as I understand you, you want to separate it. The one false address claim is being dropped.
Yes.
Now, what do you want to have addressed tonight?
The illegible signatures, either that be the signature itself or the address. And the reason why I want to hold it to another night is under the law. Let me just get the law out. Apologize, 1 second. It's 55B, section 7. The board has the power to subpoena individuals to appear before the board, and I'm going to move that each of the signatures I'm protesting to be fraud. Those individuals be summoned to appear to answer whether they actually signed the signatures or not.
How many of them are there?
17.
Is there a reason you didn't ask for that tonight, before tonight?
Before tonight, I just had the rules for the hearing process tonight, so I wasn't familiar with the hearing process.
Well, according to the notice, I think the board can do either of two things. The notice says that here objections, arguments on objections only is to matter of law. False address being dropped, I suppose that...
So there's 79.
Hold on. The illegible signatures might be a matter of law. It's also a matter of evidence. I think that the board could bifurcate the hearing the way he's asking, or the board could be super safe, and as long as we can convene a full hearing on everything but the one signature or the one name he's dropped, have a hearing on the signatures and the fraud. Subpoenas could be a little bit of a problem, but that's really up to the board. That's not up to me.
And I also wish to discuss tonight the possibility of these nomination papers. Actually, I would include that to a future hearing. I also wish to have Ms. Dion's notary or Justice of the Peace to sign this nomination papers to testify whether these dates on these nomination papers were crossed out after she signed them.
Can I say something?
Hold on for 1 second. As far as the board being required to subpoena people, I don't have that in front of me. If we're required to, we will. However, what you're asking the board to do, I think, is something that you or the Ms. Dion should do. I don't think the board should do that, but Ms. Souza wants to say something.
Just on that note, almost everybody did and took and put the November 5th date. Called us, we told them to cross it out. When they came into our custody, they were all crossed out, including the ones by the notary. So they had to have done it with the notary when they did it.
Okay, and then my question would be if the date was crossed out with the notary, then any signature that was collected before the one signed by the notary, or even the one on the notary, would be invalidated because Ms. Dion put the wrong date on there.
Yeah, but we always tell them to get the signature. We always tell them to get it notarized, one paper notarized beforehand. before they even collect signatures, there has to be, because they have to have one paper signed.
I agree. This was signed on May 3rd, so I believe it would be fair if Ms. Dion could clarify the record of whether she did collect signatures before it was notarized. If there wasn't, then I would drop that claim.
Oh, that's,
I think that's a legal point. I think you've made it, but
we can
it's
ask.
really up to the board, how much they want to hear tonight and how much they want to put forward to another day.
I was just questioning that one because I know a lot of the candidates did do that with us. They took in, put the wrong date because everybody assumed it was November 5th, but the preliminary is September 17th. So the ones that already put November 5th, they had called us and asked us, and we had told them, no, go ahead and cross it out, initial it, and put the correct date on it.
What's the state's position on it?
The state's position said as long as it's not the candidate's name, the party, or the office, the date is irrelevant.
That's what the state said. I would make the legal standpoint that these nomination papers were then, if there were signatures collected before that, these would be forged. And there's two different laws that support that. Mass General Law, Chapter 56, Section 11, and Mass General Law, Chapter 267, Section 1. I actually have both of those written. Mass General Law, Chapter 56, Section 11 states, whoever falsely makes or willfully alters, which I'm looking at here, alters, defaces, mutilates, destroys, or suppresses a certificate of nomination or nomination paper, or letter of withdrawal of a name from such paper, or initiated petition for the submission of a question to the voter, or unlawfully signs any such certificate, paper, letter, or petition, or files any such certificate, paper, letter, or petition, knowing the same to be falsely made or altered, which is another legal point, shall be punished by a fine, and it just goes on. I'm not suggesting. I'm not suggesting
When I spoke
that.
with the secretary, it was exactly on that, and he said they wouldn't make an objection based on just the date of the election. It would have to be their name changed. They changed their name afterwards. They changed what their party was, or they changed what office they were running. Let's say they were going to run for city council, changed it and put school committee on it. Then that would be. They said the date right to them is irrelevant because you can't have either the 5th or the 17th. You could have either the city election or the preliminary election.
If that's the board's understanding, then the board can vote in the manner. I'm just making my legal point.
Just so we're clear, you've made your legal point. It's in the record, and depending on how the board decides to proceed, whether they try to finish up tonight or come back another day, at some point the board will make a ruling on this. They may not do it tonight, but in terms of the record and the hearing of the objections as to a matter of law, your rights are preserved.
Okay.
I'd like to make a couple of statements, if I may.
I don't think we're there yet.
Excuse me?
I don't think we're there yet.
Okay.
Mr. Dias, those, how many signatures do you have that you're questioning in terms of
Legibility.
the date?
The date, I have no idea because I don't know when Ms. Dion, it was notarized, I believe, on the 3rd. Is that correct? The
There's
3rd?
40 signatures to the page.
Right.
So how many signatures are on that page that was?
Oh,
So that would be, no, that's not the one. The one that's.
Oh, it's the one that's notarized.
So there's 40. So there's 40 signatures there.
yes.
So is it just the one page?
Yeah.
No, it's all the pages are crossed out with the date.
No, we have to have one page notarized.
Oh, I was just saying.
Yeah,
So are you
Yes.
just objecting to the one page that's notarized? Or
for
what
the
was it?
date.
I'm objecting to the one that's notarized, and yes, that's the other legal point, that when we're talking about laws in regards to a notary, you have to sign the paper in front of a notary, and that's the question I want to know is if Ms. Dion did this change in front of a notary, then that's all well and good. However, if it was done not in the presence of a notary, this was changed after this was notarized, then I would believe this would be invalidated. And all 40 of these would be invalidated. Actually, all these would be invalidated because you have to have one nomination paper that's correctly notarized.
Do we have the notary here at all?
No, I also want to push that to a next date because I will be filing subpoenas for the notary and for all the ones I'm challenging to be forged.
Weren't you aware of that tonight?
I was not. I was just aware of the rules of this hearing tonight. I just received a copy tonight.
So your intent to subpoena people?
Yes. 18 people.
Could I raise a question about was it 17 people?
Commissioner.
17 people.
Just so we're
17.
clear. On page 2 of your memorandum, you did raise the issue of November 5th versus September 17th. So when you filed your memorandum, you certainly were aware of the date issue that the two commissioners asked.
I wasn't aware I was allowed to subpoena people. That's what I was unaware of.
But isn't that burden on you?
Right. I believe the burden's on me. That's why I wish to have these 18 people subpoenaed so I can hear their testimony. And if the testimony is correct, then that would be whatever they say would be the burden, not me.
I'm not even sure you're entitled to subpoena people on the board.
Councilman,
I will say this, I will be seeking, I am representing myself, however, I will be seeking advice from an attorney on that matter.
Is that attorney going to be here at some point?
I'm just going to seek advice on how to file subpoenas with the board, and then I will seek that advice from the attorney and then file such subpoenas. Probably tomorrow or the next day.
What's the time frame so the board knows?
We have until Monday's the 14 days after the initial date of objections, I mean, the last day of objections, which the last day was last Monday. So that was the 5th. So we actually have until the 19th to render the decision.
can I ask a question, either procedurally or to the presiding officer, concerning the allegations of forgery and subpoenas? I'm unfamiliar with this process. Is the burden on Mr. Dias when he submits paperwork requesting subpoenas that he has some evidentiary basis for doing so?
I'm going to assume you're asking me, Mr. Garnia.
Well, whoever can answer the question, I'm
Well,
concerned
the burden
about.
is on Mr. Dias, and that's why I'm asking. It's a question of if he should have anticipated, in my opinion, I think he should have anticipated having these people here. They should have been here. They should have been noticed. They should have been.
I was unfamiliar with that process, with all due respect, and now that I'm familiar with the process, I'm going to move swiftly on that if there is a second hearing.
I may be wrong, but I think that may be a decision for the board to allow another date or not.
I agree, and I would ask the board, to have a second hearing date because I received the rules late, and with my word that I'll move swiftly on this, and within the next 2 days, that we have a second hearing so we can have a fair and full hearing to get to the bottom of my objection.
The burden was on you to find out what the rules were.
The burden's on me.
Get a copy of the rules. I mean, that wasn't the board's responsibility.
I would respectfully disagree.
Well,
It's in,
What?
you can disagree, but
I just knew the burden was on me to have evidence to prove the signatures to be invalidated. In order for me to have a full hearing and to prove otherwise, to have, I believe, having these subpoenas is my burden. Right, it would be my burden to do that, and it would be my burden to prove. So the subpoenas would help me with my case. because like in any court case, I'm sure you're familiar, corporation counsel, if,
You sure you want to go there, Mr. Dyer?
I'm sure you're familiar if there's a case before you, criminal, even civil case, and the prosecution has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that someone committed such a crime, they would subpoena, during the trial, they would subpoena witnesses and testimony records.
And if they fail to, they lose.
Right, and usually trials are multiple days. Some are one day, some are multiple days. I was unfamiliar with the rules. I just received it just this afternoon, so that's why I'm asking for a second hearing date so I can submit subpoenas.
I think the point is, as I said, as corporate counsel correctly points out, when you ask for a hearing, the presumption and the burden is on the person moving for the hearing that you will have witnesses, you'll be prepared. Now, again, it's up to the committee to decide whether or not we want to give you an extra time.
And I would ask the committee to do that so there would be a full and fair hearing.
And giving, well, tonight was the chance for the full and fair hearing. So,
When did you get this? This right here?
I just gave it.
Oh,
Okay.
I just got this today, yes.
All right. Because obviously through your memorandums and everything else that we've received, you've always done your homework. You've always done research. I would have thought included in this research would have been checking to see the rules and regulations of the hearing.
Well, let me ask you this, and I'm just asking. When the almost elaborate hearing was held on the recall petitions,
Yes.
were you there at that hearing?
Yes, I wasn't familiar with the rules that we did.
No, but these are the same rules that we were using that night. So
We didn't present it, we didn't have a hearing, as you know, there was a recusal.
I just wanted to know, simple, you were there, you knew there were rules. Whether you got them in time, didn't get them in time, that's up to the board to make their decision, whether they give you more time. But you, at a minimum, were aware there were rules.
Yes.
Can I go address my concern again about allegations of forgery? And either one of you that can answer it, I'd be satisfied. When if we decide to give you an additional hearing, do you have evidentiary information you're going to be presenting for the petition for subpoenas, or is it just, excuse me, let me finish my question.
I apologize.
Or is it just a subjective suspicion on your part?
No, I
You
can
don't
answer
tell
that
me what
question.
the evidence is. I mean, that's what you're gonna have to submit. But you can tell us now, do you have evidence, or is it just suspicion?
I have, I believe, reasonable evidence, yes.
Thank you.
I am prepared to submit that tonight. I can give you the reason, I can give you my personal, the evidence to why. However, I don't think I can meet the burden without the subpoenas. I have I have reasonable suspicion, if that's an okay term. But to have to go beyond, I guess, a reasonable doubt or whatever, to fully prove what I'm trying to prove, I believe the subpoenas would come in handy. But I can give you the reason to why I question whether these are forged or not.
My opinion, and we're sharing opinions with the board here to consider each other's position. If he's prepared to give us tonight, which is the hearing that we expected, what he does have, or thinks he has, I'd like to hear it.
I can do that.
And if there's more that we feel that he can present, then we can decide at that time about a further hearing. But I'm willing to hear him right now so we can get the information tonight to see where he is.
Me too. Let's hear it.
Okay. Now we go on to so would you like to hear the forcing?
My only suggestion is just as a matter of order it may be easier for the board if you have objections as to signatures, or if there are
Yes.
groups of some sorts of objections. So whatever your first group of objections are they affidavits, are they, you know, legibility issues?
Legibility issues, yes.
Can you present all the ones that you have as far as legibility
Yes,
issues?
yes, I can.
You take those first?
Yes, I can do that.
You agreed to do that tonight, correct?
I agree to do that tonight, the legibility concerns, yes.
I think you can then proceed.
Um,
Yeah, he's good.
right, okay, I believe, so the board has, copies of Michelle Dion's signatures.
I don't have copies.
Don't like that.
Well, why don't we do this? If Mr. Lee can sit next to Mr. Gagne, they can look over each other's shoulders and make a determination as to the legibility. Legibility.
Mr. Dice, which page do you have, so we can reference?
We'll
it.
start with the page of the notary.
Okay, and this is the first signature, that of Michelle Dion?
No, I'm not objecting to that.
No, I'm not saying, I'm just wondering.
Oh, yes, yes.
I have the correct one.
Yes, it's the
That's
one
what
of-
I'm looking at
yes.
first. Go ahead.
Okay, the
Just
first,
identify which signatures you're objecting to, so we know.
okay, the first signature I'm objecting to is 4 down from the top, and,
Are the lines numbered?
actually,
No.
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 All right.
I put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Is that 1014 Hancock?
I apologize. The first one I'm objecting to is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 down, which is 668 Birch Street.
668 Birch Street?
Yes. And my objection to that is the beginning is the first name. I cannot make out the first letters or letters there are, and I can only read the last name. And because
Lori Brooks?
I can't tell if that was a Lori or not.
That's your first objection.
That's my first objection, yes.
Okay, so so Lori Brooks is your first objection?
Yes. I don't believe, because if some people may be able to read cursive better, some people, I can read
Ms.
cursive.
Dion, would you have any objection to us, and I don't think this is defacing the nomination papers, if I put a pencil mark? No, just a pencil mark, just so we can identify it, so we don't have to. So this is an objection.
Can I state that
You'll have an opportunity, I think.
she's not on the certified paper.
It,
She should be. She's checkmarked.
She's not on there.
I've had problems with that too.
No,
Yeah, I know
it's
what you're saying, I know
checkmarked.
what you're saying, I know what you're saying.
I'm gonna have to look at that one. All right.
Okay, so we have, yeah, I'm just gonna paste them up. The next one, Mr. Dice.
Right, I just was just the state.
And these are all legibility issues.
Legibility either with the signature or the address, yes.
Okay, that's fine. Can you just tell us, and if it's a signature of the address too?
No, just the signature.
So this is just the signature, okay. Next one?
The next one would be 2 more down from Miss Brooks. I am objecting to the signature only.
And who is it, please? Can you give us the address? Is that?
710 Tucker Street.
What witness?
Please, no. You need to be quiet. Who is it?
710 Tucker Street.
There's two different.
It would be the one up, the first one.
Is it the signature or the address?
Just the signature.
Okay. The next one, please.
The next one down would be 2675 North Main Street.
Okay.
The signature, the person who signed in, he signed in the third box, and I would allege since it wasn't in the signature area that it would not count. And the signature, obviously, you cannot read that whatsoever. I'm objecting to that one.
They are allowed to print.
Right. I would say because he did it in the third one, it would not be sustained.
Next one?
Would be two more down, 42 Candy Street. Kennedy Street.
Is it the signature?
The signature, yes.
Just state which it is.
Signature.
Next, please.
The one right below that, I'm objecting to both the signature and the address.
Next, please.
I'm objecting to just the signature.
Which one?
The one right below it.
The address is what? Does it start with
42 Kennedy Street. I could barely make the address out too.
So you're objecting to the address too?
No, I'm just objecting to the signature.
Next.
I'm objecting to Jackie Cummings. I can't read her address, so I'm objecting to the address.
Yes. Just the address?
Yes.
Okay.
And the next one will be two more down, which is 2641 North Main Street. I cannot read the signature. I'm objecting to the signature.
Next.
Would be three more down, 240 Rich Street. I cannot read the first name.
Which one?
It would be, I think it's Keating Jr. I can't read the first name though. And then we'll go on the back of this page. The first one on the back of the page, I cannot read the signature, 1014 Hancock Street.
Next, please.
Would be the one right below it, which is 124 Grattan Street?
Grattan.
Grattan Street, yes. I cannot read the signature.
Next.
The one right below it, 745 Broadway Street. I'm objecting to the signature.
Hickson. Okay.
And the next one would be right below it, 39 Byron Street. I'm objecting to that signature.
Next, please.
It would be two more down, 22 Byron Street. I'm objecting to that signature.
Next.
And would also be the one right below it, 22 Byron Street. I'm objecting to that signature.
Next, please.
Next one would be four down. I'm objecting to that signature. It would be 3 Shepherd Street.
Next, please.
That would be all on that page. And the next page I will do would be the one that starts with Darlene
Just
Almeida.
identify which page by the first name at the top of the page.
Yes, Darlene Almeida.
The first signature on this page, on the page you're talking about, is Darlene Almeida.
Yes. I'm not objecting.
No, I'm just asking to be able to identify that
Okay.
we found it.
No, I'm good. I can say.
The first one I'm are you ready?
Yeah.
The first one I'm objecting to on that page is 8 down, which would be 1235 President Avenue, and I'm objecting to the signature.
Next, please.
Would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 more down, which would be 715 Woodman Street. I'm objecting to the signature, specifically the first name.
Next, please.
The next one would be 2 more down. I'm objecting to the signature, which is 48 Byron Street, Fall River.
Next, please.
Would be one more down from that one, which is 120 Flint Street, which I'm objecting to, the signature.
Next.
Would be three more down, 133 Kempton Street. I'm objecting to the signature. I cannot make out that first name.
Next.
Would be two more down, 165 Kempton Street. I'm objecting to the signature. We'll be going on the back of this page. One, two. We will go four down, which is 33. Actually, I can't even. I think it's Quequechan Street. If they don't spell the, I'm gonna object to both the signature and the address because it's not spelled right.
On which one?
33 Quequechan Street.
There's two that say.
Oh, I apologize. The bottom one. Four down.
Are you objecting to the address also and the signature?
Yes, both of them.
Next, please.
We will be going to a new page.
You done with this page?
Yes.
What's the first name on the next page that you're looking to?
I'm actually objecting to that one. The address is 116 Merchant Street.
Signature?
Yes, the signature.
Next, please.
Would be two more down, which is 237 Grove Street. I'm objecting to the signature.
Next.
Would be three more down. I'm objecting 237 Orange Street. I'm objecting to the signature.
Next, please.
Would be one more down from that one, 22 Harriet Street. I'm objecting to that signature.
Next, please.
Would be two more down. I'm objecting 50 or 56 Anderson Street. I'm going to object to both the signature and the address.
Next, please.
Would be three more down. I'm objecting to the signature. 50 Anderson Street.
Next.
That'll be all on that page for illegal signatures. Illegible. The next one would be Catherine Botello. Nine Wingold.
Okay.
The first one I'm objecting to is the third one down, which is both the signature and the address. The next one I'll be objecting to is the signature. Right below that one is the signature and the address, which is four down, 3 and 4 down. I'm objecting both the signatures and the addresses.
Excuse me. Were you down to Early Street, or you were up right above it with Fortin Street? There are 2 at 40, 3 at 41.
On Wingo Street, I'm objecting to the third one and the fourth one, both the signature and the address. It's their 2C.
Next.
Would be two more down from that one, which would be 79 Archer Street. I'm objecting to the signature.
Next, please.
Would be two more down from that one. I'm objecting to the signature.
You read the address.
It would be actually can't even read the address. It would be. I can't make it out. Actually, I should have. I'm gonna object to both the signature and the address.
Is it the one that's under Lucy Coleman?
Yes, that one.
Next.
Would be two more down from this one, which is 50 Rolling Street,
5D.
5D, Rolling Green. I'm objecting to the signature.
Next, please.
1, 2, 3, Would be 5 down from that one, 1244 Watkins Street. I'm objecting to the signature.
Next, please.
Would be 2 more down from that one, Bianca Souza. I'm objecting to the address. I didn't know if it was an X or a Y. Actually, I'm gonna drop that one. I can make it out to be a Y.
Okay.
So from that one, 1, 2, 3, 4 down. I'm objecting to the signature, 135 Hafford Street.
Next.
We want 4 more down, which would be 116th Street, Fall River. I'm objecting to the signature. And the next one would be right down from that one, 1017 Plymouth Avenue. I'm objecting to the signature.
Are there any in the reverse?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Are there any on the reverse?
Yes, there is. 3 down from, I apologize, 4 down from the reverse side. I'm objecting to the signature, which would be 852 Plymouth Avenue.
Next, please.
Would be 1, 2, 3, 4 down from that one. I am objecting to the signature, which is 151 or 157 Charlotte Street.
Next, please.
Would be 1, 2, 3 down from that one, which is 581 County Street. I'm objecting to the signature. And 1 more down from that one. Actually, that'll be all on that page. The next one would starts off with Lori Donnelly.
Okay.
I'm objecting to the signature. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6 down. 563 Mount Hope Avenue. I'm objecting to the signature. And the one below it, 551 Mount Hope Avenue. I'm objecting to that signature. And the one below that one, 20 Wheeler Street. I'm objecting to that signature. And that'll be all on that page. And this page. This one starts with Cheryl Costa.
Okay.
The first one I'm objecting to would be 8 down, which is 2016 North Main Street. I'm objecting to that signature.
Next.
And the one right below that one, Roxanne, I'm objecting to the address. Then 2 more from that one, 1800 Island Avenue. I'm objecting to the signature. And then the last one on there, 510 Eastern Avenue. I'm objecting to the signature.
Next sheet. We have 2 more. Do you have any more?
I do. Yes. Oh yes. We'll start this one on 99 Broad Street or Brood Street, precinct 3A. I'm objecting to the signatures of the first 4. And then I'm objecting to the signatures 2 down from the 4th one, which is a 611 Choices Street or Chore Street. I'm objecting to the signature.
It says 611 Charles Street.
Charles Street, yes.
The signature?
Yeah, just a signature, yes.
Next, please.
I'm objecting to the address of Barbara Hydea.
20 Chaplin Street.
3C.
Next, please.
Would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 down from that one, 300 Stetson Street. I'm objecting to the signature. Then I'm objecting to the signatures of the next 3 below that one. Then I'm objecting to the signature of 700 Shore Drive, which is 2 below the last one I said.
All right, next one.
Would be 2 down from that one, which is 622 Valentine Street. I'm objecting to the signature. Then the one below that one, which is 87 Orange Street, I'm objecting to that signature for, signature. Then we go on to the reverse. I'm objecting to the second signature on the reverse side, which is 367 Frost Street. I'm objecting to that signature. Then next one would be 1, 2, 3, 4 more down from that one, which is 180 River Street. I'm objecting to that signature. And then there would just be one more on the last page. I'm objecting to the first signature.
Did you change pages?
Oh yes, I'm changing pages from the reverse side.
What's the name on the first line?
301 Brittle Way.
Okay.
I'm objecting to that signature, and that would be all for signatures.
Ms. Dion, can we retain these for a few minutes?
Absolutely.
So that's your first set of objections with
Yes.
regard to legibility?
Yes.
Okay, what's your next set of objections?
The next set of objections, which I hope the board will listen to, would be forged signatures.
Okay, can I stop this for a second there?
Yes.
In your memorandum, you indicated that 53 were contested for containing an illegible signature, 5 address, and 4 vote. Are all those objections contained in the 58 you've listed for the board now?
Yes. I might reading
I'm not
some.
going to hold you to the number, I just want to
okay.
know
Yes.
that everything you brought to the board in this round
Yes.
of
Yes. I didn't add any.
is
I did not add any new objections.
whatever was illegible,
Yes.
address, signature, or both?
Yes.
Okay.
The second set of objections would be forged signatures. There's a lot less of them. I can.
Well, I thought these were all the objections on illegibility.
Oh yes, I'm done with those.
Okay, so
illegibility.
what is this now?
We're on the ones I alleged to be forged.
Forged, okay.
Okay. And as you go down, I think you understand my standpoint on how they're forged. The first one I alleged to be forged. We will go to the notarized one first.
Mr. Dias?
Would be the fourth one, which would be Michael Durham. Both signatures have the address especially has the same exact handwriting, and the signature itself looks a little bit scrubbed, but the address looks exactly the same. I could test that that one's forged.
Which one's forged?
The fourth one from the bottom, from the top of the notarized one, 1014 Hancock Street.
Okay.
The second one I believe to be forged is 70 Brown Street, which is 3 more down from that one. Caitlin Fallon, I believe both the signature and especially the address has the same exact handwriting, in my opinion, and I allege that one be forged.
Okay.
And the last one I allege to be forged on this one would be the last signature on this page, on the notarized page, with both the signature and the last name has the same exact handwriting, and the address is made in the same exact handwriting. It's not the same exact address, but it's in the same exact
Talking
handwriting.
about the one you're referencing, 296 Atlantic Boulevard?
Yes.
Are you referencing both of them?
No. My opinion is that everyone who collects signatures always goes top down, and I believe the ones that that have the same handwriting, I believe the person on the top is the person who put it on the bottom. So I believe only the one on the bottom is forged.
Okay.
The next one will start off with 301 Brittle Way.
Okay.
The second one from the bottom, 124. It's 1A on the. I should have objected to that one. It's 1A.
That one?
Yes. It says 1A. I believe the signature was it's the same on both of those, so I believe that one was forged.
Which one? Which one are you referencing? 124? Is that the one you're alleging is fraud?
Yes. The second from the bottom.
124?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Then we'll go to the back side. I have one question. This one, is this the one 161 Highland, the one on the bottom 161 Highland? Is that a T? Is that, or is that a check mark? Because I had a confusion.
T, meaning it's already been signed.
Oh, it's been signed more than one.
Yes,
Okay.
it's been signed more than once. That's what the T stands for.
Okay, then I would move on to the second 163 Savoy Street. Both the signature and address have the same exact handwriting style, and I'm objecting to the bottom one being forged.
Well, there's 3 here.
There's only.
Are
I'm
you talking about Jordan Monis?
yes. Both of those. Philip.
So which one?
I'm objecting to Gabriella Brightman and Jordan Monis. I believe both of those to be forged. The next one I believe to be forged is 99 North Hodgson Street. I believe the bottom one to be forged.
The last one? Are you talking the very last name?
No, 99.
The third from the bottom.
99?
Yes. Just the bottom one. And then the next one I'm objecting to is the bottom one, Angela Fallon. Not both the signature and the address are of the same exact handwriting style, and I believe that one is to be forged. I'm objecting to that one. The next page we'll be going to is 99 Broad Street. That's the
First name in that list is,
Susan.
Tobias?
I think so. I object. Yes. The first one I'll be objecting to for forgery is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 11 down from the bottom, which is 243 Front Street. I believe that one to be forged.
First name is Mary?
Yes. That's the only one on that page. Now we'll be beginning with Cheryl Costa.
Okay.
The first one I believe to be forged is Shimmery Costa. And the next one for forgery is the one right below it, John Costa. The next one, we'll start with Lori Donnelly.
You done with that page?
Yes.
Okay.
The next one I believe for forgery would be Scott Downley.
Would that be the second one down?
The second one down, yes. The next one for forgery would be 1, 2, 3 more down from that one. Donna Barboza, 551 Mount Hope Avenue.
Are we done with that page, Mr. Dias?
Yes, we are. The next page we'll be going to, it starts with Catherine Patello.
Okay.
There's only one on this page. It would be on the back side. And it will be the 1, 2, 3, 5th one from the bottom on the back side, 81 Lafayette Street. I believe the bottom one is before.
One that says, reads Patricia Pacheco?
Yes. That'll be all on that page. The next page we'll be going to starts with 116 Merchant Street. I objected to the signature.
What? Yeah, you objected to...
No, I was just saying that's the one I objected, so I couldn't read the name for you.
Oh, okay.
116 Merchant Street for forgery would be 1, 2, 3, 4 from the bottom of this page. The page wasn't completed.
Matthew Medeiros?
Yes, I objecting to that one. And then the bottom one of that page, Rui, this 116 Race or 1046 Race Street. Objecting to that one.
Forgery.
Yes, yes. And then the last page, Ron Darlene Almeida.
Yep. Okay, registered.
The first one for forgery would be the second one from the top, 55 Middlesex Street.
Chad McAllister?
Yes. The second one for forgery would be Joseph Govin, 3565 North Main Street, which would be a few more down from that one.
Next.
That would be all on that page.
Does that complete the alleged forgeries?
Yes.
So, for the record, you've made at least your case, or most of your case, on forgery.
Yes.
The signatures you've addressed in total,
Yes.
and you withdrew one at the beginning of the meeting.
Yes.
So, at least as a matter of law, you've presented everything to the board that you want them to hear, correct?
I wish to did we present we didn't really discuss the top, we did discuss. I just want to make the
What are you referring to, Mr. Dice?
the top of the nomination papers of my allegation that these were tampered with. Was that in the record?
Any specific one?
No, I'm talking about the
Oh.
11,
Oh, you're talking about the date?
Yes, was that into the record, or should I make that case again?
If it's on the record.
Okay.
It was in the record, first thing.
Then the last thing I just wanted to say about the forged signatures, as you can see with most of these, they have the same exact handwriting, and I believe that's evidence in itself that these were forged. And to complete that, I would ask this board to host a second hearing so I could file subpoenas for the one I alleged to be forged, so we can hear from them. Because if there were signatures that people did not want on there, that would be a huge disservice to the community, in my opinion. And that's why I believe we should go forward with a second hearing, so I could submit subpoenas and then hear from those individuals themselves.
I think what you're requesting is, or suggesting, to submit requests for subpoenas.
Yes, I'm going to submit requests for subpoenas, of course. And that is my argument.
I guess Mr. Young, you want to present something?
Yep. Are you all done, Mr. Dias?
I am,
Complete?
yes.
Mr. Young, do you need these papers?
No, sir.
I'm
I'm not-
just gonna hold on to these, just for a few minutes.
Sure, absolutely. I'm not quite sure even where to start. Number one, people who sign those papers that he's objecting to, we have some sitting right here. Number two, I have a question. I know for fact, may God strike me dead right here, there's people on there he accused of forgery. When those people are subpoenaed, or if they're subpoenaed, and it's proven that they did not, do they have the right to sue him for a false accusation?
Well, again, we're not here to give legal advice.
I'm just
We
asking the
can't.
questions. Yep.
That would be entirely up to the individuals to whom the accusation has been made
Because
against. so-
I will state right here, and this I'm very upset, and I'm not afraid to say I'm upset. One of the signatures that I believed he claimed is forged is the signature of a 27-year-old autistic man who signed his own signature. And I really don't think he needs to be dragged in here like that. And another one is a 43-year-old special needs individual who I don't think needs to be put on display either. Other than that, he can bring anybody he wants in here because they're not forged. With those statements, I would like to push for a speedy end to this. My next point is, if it's a big legal issue, and if the point of the date and the date being changed is a legal thing, a serious matter, then I would ask why only I am here when multiple other candidates did the same thing, A. And B, can I request at this time, if this moves forward, that every candidate that changed the date be brought before this board? Thirdly, it's like 5 or 6. I knew I was gonna lose one of them. I guess I just would push for us to move forward with this. Oh, I know what the last point was. For my part, I can't speak for anyone else. On that nomination paper, it states, write the date of the city election. The election is November 5th. It is not September 17th. The pre-election is September 17th, and that specifically states, write the date of the city election. Furthermore, the city council and the school committee don't even have pre-elections. And with that, I rest. Thank you.
Thank you.
can I raise a question? The
Sure.
procedure at the president. We've got some work to do. It looks like we have to look at all signature cards, obviously, to compare signatures. Do we do that in closed session or open session?
Well, it seems to me that there are 3 issues before the board. One is the issue of dates, which is purely legal. You can decide that however you want. The idea that signatures are illegible, i.e. can't be read. I think you can decide if you want from the face of the document. I mean, you can read it or not. It's been certified, at least some of them, or all of them, as readable. So when you do that, how you do that, I suggest you do it in public so there won't be any question, but you know, it's getting late and that's really up to you. But what I'm coming to is in terms of separating out what you can decide as a matter of fact, a matter of law and fact. So the dates, that's just a matter of law, you decide that. What's legible and illegible, Mr. Dyer says that's not legible, and some of them look like he could read, and some of them look like Mrs. Souza could read, so that's really, I don't think you need any further hearing on that. The issue of forgery is a little more difficult. It's a very serious charge, and it literally can't be sustained by, well, this one looks like it's the same as the guy 2 above. You could do that. My suggestion is that you know, we give him a chance to summons in these people. Takes his chances, everybody does. If people come in and say, look, no, that's my signature, I signed it. It's a fail-safe way. You could, I just want the board to understand, I think you have enough information before you on forgeries to say, listen, that's not even enough to warrant issuing summonses. But I also suggest that's not the safest way to do it. I don't know if that's an answer or a non-answer.
Yeah, can we state opinions on where we stand on this, so we get a feel? The legibility issue about handwriting, I would hate to compare my signature today with when I filled out my signature card 40 years ago. That's not the process we take when we're verifying votes anyway. The main thing we look for is the address verification. So questions about whether there's an address legibility or not, I think I'd be more concerned with that seriously than signature, because signatures vary quite a bit. So for the few that might fall into that category, we can do that in public. But on the forgery one, that's the one I have the greatest concern about. My recommendation is we do have a meeting, not a hearing, a meeting of the board to go over signature cards for, we select the ones we want to take a look at for address legibility, and looking at ones for signature duplication of handwriting, if you will, or forgery, if you want to use that term. But not make a decision on those until we receive the other evidentiary information from Mr. Dias that he said that he was going to submit, and then take a look at his further evidentiary information, the results of our review, take a look at the whole thing, and at that point decide whether we're going to have another hearing or not. So
I think you could do that, but don't forget, you've got the 19th staring you in the face. You wanted to say something, Mr. Dyer?
Yes, may I? And to speed this process along in regards to, I think we can possibly answer the question of whether the nomination papers were indeed forged tonight. If Ms. Dion was willing to come down under oath for question, which the board has the authority to omit, I have a few questions for her regarding the forgery on the top. if the board's willing to do that.
Forgery on the top being,
Of the nomination paper, like when it comes to the notary public, because I understand the date can be changed on this, if that's what the state said. However, there is a question whether the one that was notarized, I believe we have a question whether the notarization is void if the date was crossed out of the eyes of a notary.
So if the person notarized it after she crossed it out, like she crossed it out in front of her and put the correct date,
Right, then that would be,
and then the notary notarized it, then that's what you're
yes,
asking her if that's what it was.
yes.
if, first of all, she's got to agree to that, but if the board were to allow that, are you telling us you will accept her statement, or that you reserve the right to do something else later on?
Under oath, I would accept her statement.
So you're telling the board that you would accept her statement and end the hearing tonight?
In regards to the one notarized signature, I still have questions in regards to the forged signatures. I would like to see them be compared via cards.
Well, okay, Mr. I don't want to speak for the board, but you can't have it both ways. I mean, you can have her under oath and she says whatever she says, and you accept that, and that's the end of it. Or you live to fight another day if the board lets you, and come back with some evidence, real evidence.
Right. I just did have one. I apologize.
The only things I have is the signatures that we do. I've done over 10,000 signatures since I've been here for the past 5 years. I kind of know how to read a signature. However, it's all subjective. Like, I can see the name and you can't. He can see the name and he can't. So it's all subjective to the person doing the certification. If I can see that it says John Smith, but you can't see that, I mean, unless you bring John Smith here to say this is, that, no, I didn't sign it, well, that's, but as far as legibility goes, I mean, that's all subjective. As far as the date goes, I can also get something from the state that will, in writing, say that with the date as far as that goes.
Madam Chairman, I think the fact that, well, let me ask this, would you take the representation of the board chair, election commission, that she has in fact verified with the state that the change in date is not makes material difference to them, and it's an acceptable practice?
Right. I would accept that. However, what I am questioning is a notary.
So let me ask you the question. So you would accept the fact that the date change, based on the representation made by the chairman of the board of the election commission, is a fair representation by the state?
Not for the notary itself.
My question is about the date itself, the change in the date itself. Ms. Souza is representing
yes.
that she has spoke to, let me finish, she has spoke to the state, and they verified that a change in date is not a material alteration of any sort of the nomination papers, and it is a recognized practice.
May I ask a question to Mr. Zion? Was your question in regards to a notarized paper as well?
Yes.
So if it's changed after it's notarized, the state said that's illegal?
No, I said if they brought it to us with the date change notarized, is it still legal? And they said the date is irrelevant. They want to change, if they say any changes after the notary on name, party, or the office itself, whichever one of those, if it was changed afterwards, that's where they have the fraudulent.
So, Mr. Dice, the question gets to be, is if the Commonwealth is saying that the date change is irrelevant, then the notary, the change before or after the notary is then irrelevant too. Would you agree?
No.
But that's what they're saying.
I just asked the question whether you asked if a notarized, if it was a change on a notarized,
Yeah, I asked him if it was a change on a notarized form. If it was notarized,
It was-
if there was a
okay.
change on it, and if it was notarized, is that okay?
and if the change was done after the
Well, how do you
notarization.
know that it was done? That's the whole thing.
That's, I agree. That's why I wish to ask Ms. Dion that question under oath.
Well, it's up to the board to decide.
Yeah.
You know, that issue has been raised, it's kind of closed. They can make whatever ruling they want, just like they can make a ruling on legibility. The forgery is a different situation.
That's my case.
Does the board have any?
Well, if you continue the hearing to the 15th, you can finish it up, make your decision on the 16th or the 19th, and file it, and that's it. But you don't have a lot of time.
If we have another hearing, are we going to be looking at signature cards for the alleged forgeries?
Well, the forgery issue is kind of interesting. I mean, he's raised it. He has to prove it.
Right.
If-
And he said he would submit further evidentiary information.
Yes, and including that, I'll even do the work I will submit a request for all the signature cards, which I'm alleged to be forged tomorrow, and then I'll make the case for you.
But just so we're clear, and I don't want to make this a murder trial. You can't come in and say, oh, look, I don't like this signature that's forged. And it's a little different than the signature card, it's forged. Evidence is somebody who says, you know, that's not my signature. Somebody signed it instead of me. Or somebody who comes in and says, look, I've been a handwriting expert for 40 years, and I see, you know, the loops and the walls and everything are different. But that's your job.
Right. I would make the case that the evidence I presented with the 4 signatures, that the signatures I said were forged look just as the same as the one on top. Most of these are family members or people who live together. The fact that they look very close together, I believe, deserves further investigation.
But Mr. Dias, I think the point that's being made is, it's not up to you, it's up to an individual, either, as Judge Macy has indicated, that they come in and say, that's not my signature, I didn't sign it, I didn't give somebody permission to sign it,
Right.
okay? Or you have a disinterested third party, which we like to call a handwriting expert, who does an analysis and looks at that and says, in my professional opinion, that is not the signature of David Dennis. Okay? Because I have 2 samples here, based on my experience, my professional opinion, one is, one isn't. Okay? I'm not sure we can accept your opinion as to whether or not you think the signatures are valid and or not valid or fraudulent. That's the problem we have. It's not a problem, but that's the issue.
That's up to the board to decide.
Yeah, well, let's kind of pin it down. You have fairly raised the issue of forgery. The board has heard your version of why it might be a forgery. It's now your burden to prove the point that they are in fact forgeries.
I agree, and if awarded a second hearing, I would personally make the request for all the signature cards I allege to be forged, and then make the case at the next hearing. And on top of that, I believe the board should ask Ms. Dion under oath about all these signatures as well, and we can even get this done tonight. Because if it's under.
But again, I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but I think the point we're trying to make is, you can't do that.
I'm making the request.
We can't have you look at the signature cards and then you offer a subjective opinion as to whether or not that's someone's signature or not. It's either the individual or it's a disinterested third party.
I believe the board can make that decision as well. They can look at the signature cards on the board, of course.
And we probably can. And so maybe in the absence of the other 2 choices, maybe that's what we end up doing. because we need to have a decision to third party. You can't do that.
I agree.
And I don't think, and I could be wrong, I mean, you certainly have the option to do that, but if you'd like to go hire a handwriting expert and have him or her come in and provide credentials to the committee that we would agree on, this person was a registered handwriting expert.
Okay. No.
But you might find that that's relatively expensive.
I would disagree.
Well, you probably haven't done it before then. And we would have to agree that we would have to accept that person's opinion anyway.
I agree. Or the board could look at these themselves. That's up to the board, of course. I just want to stay. I don't think it would be hard for me to have a person who is qualified to look at handwriting signatures. It would be hard for me to bring in a third person.
You're saying it wouldn't be?
It wouldn't be hard for me to do that. If that's what the board requests, I can do that.
We're not requesting anything.
The board is telling you to.
We're just telling you your options.
And so be it. I can bring in a third-party handwriting expert at the next meeting, if there is one.
I guess Ms. Medina wants to say something.
Ms. Dydick?
My first question would be, disinterested third...
You want to come down and stand, please?
Sorry. My first question would be disinterested third party. So it wouldn't be somebody, friend, family, or familiar with Mr. Dias. It would have to be a third person disinterested party, correct?
Not exactly. He can pick whoever he wants, and they can give it whatever weight they want, if any.
Okay.
He could come in and he could have, somebody come in and say, he could say, well, this is my handwriting expert, and I would presume the board, I know I certainly would ask for their credentials, and then he would offer them to the board, and the board could then decide whether or not we feel as though the person's qualified to make that determination. We may not. We may say no. We don't think professionally that they're qualified.
That's fine, because as I stated before, I know for a fact, I can't attest to every single one. I certainly didn't forge anybody's signature, so I have no issue with that. Did I see out of 232 signatures, every person sign every signature? Obviously not. So I'm not going to be so foolish as to say that I know every single person that signed. The ones I do know that signed, that he accused of forgery, that aren't fraudulent, that will be proven. But I'd like to ask one other point. So, of all the signatures that he's objected to, including the forgeries, the illegibles, the addresses, so if the board determines less than, 61 to fall into any of those categories, the signatures wouldn't be thrown out, my certification wouldn't be thrown out anyways. Correct?
Well, you said there are 232 certified signatures?
No, 210. I submitted 232, 210 were certified. So 61 would have to be thrown out for my papers, my nomination papers to be considered no good. Is that a correct statement?
Yeah, because it has to fall under
say
the
something.
150.
Right.
I submitted this objection for the integrity of the process, not to get an individual necessarily thrown off the ballot. So if I just want to make sure there is integrity in the process, and that's all that matters to me, not getting someone thrown off the ballot. I just want to make that clear.
I don't believe I said anything about being thrown off a ballot.
Okay, all right, we need to move on. Does the board want to pick an additional date to give Mr. Dias an opportunity to come in with a expert of some sort, or have subpoenas, or?
Well, it has to have a 48-hour, so if anything, it would have to be Thursday or Friday.
And what's the earliest Thursday it could be?
It would have to be in the afternoon, because,
Well, I'm just thinking, rather than convene it at 7 and go to
no,
9, if
we
the,
could do it in the
if
afternoon.
it's
What is it?
convenient for the board, I'll make.
Afternoon?
The afternoon?
Yeah, late afternoon.
Yeah,
Well,
because
look, even if we started at 4,
4
it,
o'clock is
uh,
fine, yeah.
gives us an extra 3 hours.
That's fine.
So that would-
Thursday at 4? Yes?
Thursday
Is there a
at
date
4?
suggested?
This Thursday at 4, which would be August 15th at 4 PM.
To conclude the hearing.
That's fine with me.
We have to have a full board here. I don't have my calendar, but I think the 4th, I have something at that time.
At 4, Thursday, August 15th?
Time.
5 o'clock.
Look, you know,
What, is there a time, is it 4 o'clock you have a problem with this?
I don't have my calendar. It's
when do you have to publish it?
48 hours.
Yeah, but
So I would
by
have to do
tomorrow?
it by tomorrow.
At,
If it's at 4, I'd have to do it by 4 o'clock. If it's at
can
5,
you
I
let,
can.
Can you give her an alternate date besides the 4th? And then,
The only other
I can-
alternate
I
day
can
would be
communicate-
Friday.
The only alternate day would be Friday.
Okay, but
'Cause
I can
we have to have
communicate
a
with her
decision
tonight
by
with the
Monday.
2 dates. If you give her a second date besides the 4th.
look, at some point, everybody's schedule, including mine, is,
Do it tomorrow.
you know, captive to the statute. We've got to get something done by
By
the
Monday.
19th. I mean, not that my schedule is more important than anybody else's, but, all right, well, look, I'm
Well,
available,
I'm asking
I'll
you
make
for
myself
an
Friday
alternate date.
at
I'm gonna
4.
try to do it on the 4th, depending on the time that I've got the commitment to. But if we have an alternative date, I can let Kelly know tonight.
So either Thursday or Friday at 4?
Well, it has to be Thursday
Either
or
Thursday or
Friday.
Friday at
Okay.
4.
All right, since he's the only, if he lets you know, you can publish it tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll do that
Just
tomorrow.
make sure you let me know. You know what?
Oh, you guys are so amenable, that's just unbelievable.
Alright, so.
Well, I think there not being any further business, I don't think we can.
Close the hearing,
Close the
motion to
hearing.
adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion, second, third.
Aye.
Second?